Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Daisy Days. I'm Daisy. Well, today, guys, I wanted to discuss movie sequels, as I'm sure there are many thoughts about this subject. Some may be positive, others not so much, but to each their own, right? I wanted to concentrate mainly on one of the Paranormal Activity franchise films, like Paranormal Activity, the marked ones, which was released back in 2014. Paranormal Activity, the marked ones, was written and directed by Christopher B. Landon. It consisted, for the most part, of his main character, portrayed by Andrew Jacobs as Jesse, Jorge Diaz as Jesse's best friend, Hector, and Gabriel Walsh as Marisol, both Jesse and Hector's friend. As it is common in this franchise, someone is holding a camera since the beginning of the film. Throughout the film, we see one of Jesse's neighbors, who is believed to be a witch, be murdered. Hector and Jesse go and look around Jesse's neighbor's apartment to see if maybe they can find any evidence or maybe any clues on what really happened. And they end up finding a lot of objects that are assumed to be used for witchcraft. After that day, paranormal activities begin to occur in Jesse's home. A demonic spirit appears to have latched on to Jesse, causing him to have certain behavioral changes that at first appear to be superpowers. So they don't really worry much about it, because apparently it is normal to them, which is obviously not, let's face it. However, after a while, Jesse begins to have other behavioral changes like aggression or subconscious attempts on suicide, which is when they all begin to worry. Because that's the time to worry, right? Not with all the superpowers that are so realistic. Throughout the film, they're all trying to figure out a way to rid Jesse of this demon, but it appears to be taking over his body by the minute, making him unaware of certain actions that throughout the film, like the fact that he pushes his grandmother. Jesse's friends meet up with Allie Ray. She's one of the main characters from Paranormal Activity 2, so she makes like a guest star appearance, and they get some information from her with the help of a common friend of theirs, named Arturo. So when they're talking to her, she ends up letting them know of what's going on, since, well, if you've seen the other Paranormal Activities, she's got some experience with these kind of situations. So she tells Jesse's friends that Jesse has been marked by a coven, and which is why he's acting this way, right? And she gives them information on the location of one of the rituals, of where it will be taking place, and that way they could maybe figure out a way to stop what's happening to Jesse. Towards the end of the film, Jesse's friends are in the location that Ali had told them before. It's Marisol, Hector, and Arturo, the ones that go to this location. When they get there, things are obviously kind of off. Well, because it's obviously the place where the ritual's taking place. So a lot of weird things are happening around them. So they don't really know how to approach this type of situation. At the end, they sort of like get surrounded by the coven, which leads to Hector and Marisol's death. Arturo somehow manages to survive, and he tries to escape from the members of the coven. But he somehow manages to travel through time and ends up back in Katie and Mika's home. Katie and Mika being the main characters from the very first Paranormal Activity. When he gets there, he's obviously confused, and we see Katie looking at him, but she obviously doesn't know who he is, and it leads to them attacking him because they think he's somewhat dangerous, so he ends up dead, and this is where the film ends. This year, however, this Paranormal Activity, the Mark ones, was, as I said, was released in 2014. This year, 2015, there was another film released for the Paranormal Activity franchise. Well, to my opinion, needless to say, these films are in urgent need to come to an end. See, the thing with sequels or prequels after sequels being filmed and released in theaters is that they come to a point where they become unnecessary to have been made. The reason why I chose this particular film to review is because I believe it is a perfect example of why sequels should be left alone at a certain point. I know there are plenty of films that have a part two, three, and so on, but I also know that most of these reasons are because they have a follow up film. Why they have a follow up film is because they tell a story like trilogies. Every part of this story is different. They have a different storyline, different characters, or it moves the film forward. However, with there are other films like Son of the Mask, Trooper by the Dozen 2, Jaws, a sequel, Dumb and Dumber 2, Alvin and the Chipmunks 2, or I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen Baby Geniuses, which I believe it was released back in 1999. And then back in 2004, it had another movie called Super Babies, Baby Genius 2, which totally ruined the movie because the first film was babies who were totally normal, and then this second film was all of a sudden about super babies and they had powers, which it really ruined for, like, I guess my generation. It ruined the film. So let's just pretend that one doesn't exist. But like I'm saying, there are films that should be left alone. I often see the making of sequels as an excuse. They see that the film did good in the box office, or they had good ratings the first time, so they try to create another film, a sequel. They find an excuse to make a sequel, like, oh guys, there was a new storyline that we didn't tell you about, so they make another one, right? But all they really end up creating is something that has been done not once, not twice, but three times already, as it is the case with the Paranormal Activities franchise. The illusion that these films are supposed to be follow is that they're supposed to be following a storyline from one film to the next, and they somehow manage to lure individuals like us to, well, myself included, right, to go voluntarily to the theaters and see these type of films, which we've already seen. Let's face it. If we really pay attention, we notice a lot of things, like the fact that, well, like this film was mainly used as a spin-off, and it wasn't a really good one. I mean, the box office and the ratings speak for themselves. They find a way to maybe catch the audience attention, mainly by including characters from the past, like they included Allie, and they included Katie and Mika from the first film, so that way the audience believes that it is connected, and that way they try to, like, find the main point of the story, which there really hasn't been a main point to the story. I myself haven't seen the most recent one because I believe they should have stopped at the fourth one. I believe the first was really good. I'm not a big fan of scary movies, and when I would go to see these, I would usually try and, like, stare at the wall. But obviously, I mean, you go and you see the movie, so I try and watch most of it. But they're, like, actually scary. But after the second one, I mean, they all follow the same routine, jump scares, and it's basically the same storyline over and over again, but we still keep going. And then with this movie, I actually managed to look at the screen the whole time. It was not scary at all. After watching 3, 4 films of the same thing over and over again, jump scares, like I said, you kind of predict when things are going to happen. So, I mean, it doesn't make it scary, which is what these films are supposed to be. And it doesn't follow a storyline. It had really, really good acting. Like, the characters did a really good job, but the storyline was not good. Well, the storyline was not good. In a way, they tried to trick the audience into finding a connection with the other films, which is where the characters from the past films come along. But there really isn't. I mean, they include them in there. They're kind of just thrown into the film, kind of like to make the film, the marked ones, fit into all the other ones. But like I said, just being thrown in there, not much of a storyline, not much of a connection. So, I mean, it really didn't fit along with the other films. And then they went ahead and I guess they tried to do something new since it was a spin-off, and they tried to add time travel to the film, which I honestly didn't see as a good fit
especially with these kind of films, which are meant to be horror films. And with the paranormal activity, which is the main theme of these films, like they're supposed to be things that maybe have happened to other people or maybe could happen. But I mean, time travel is something that's really off. I don't know about you, but I haven't heard about anyone that's actually time traveled, or maybe they have. I just haven't heard of it. But I mean, what are the odds? And then to be added into these type of films, I think it's just too much. The paranormal activity and then the time travel, it's just too much to be included in the type of film. The creators maybe haven't found the right arc in order to lead the franchise to its end, to have a successful end. So they end up incorporating things that aren't really necessary, or they create more films to give themselves more time to find the right way to finish the franchise. But I mean, as for this film, aside from the good acting, because I really did think the actors did a good job. I mean, the director did a good job too, right? I mean, there were like a lot of good shots. It's just the storyline, the way it was like made. Because I mean, they even had a difference in culture, from the other films. The first four films, it was a really different culture from them. So I mean, I think that was all pretty good, but again, it's repetitive as I said, I guess the main issue with making this film, I guess, like kind of like a horror film, it was really really repetitive. The jump scares, I mean, we saw them coming, and there wasn't really much shock when things like that happened. I mean, you give a little jump here and there, but nothing too shocking. So it wasn't that big a deal, I guess. And I'm sure there will be more to follow up. And I hope there's something different done to them in order for them to end on a better note. Let's hope the creators, the directors, and the writers find a good way to get these films to, I don't know, just make it a good franchise overall. And not just make it seem like the first ones are the good ones, because we have a lot of those already. So let's just hope they find a better way to do this. I mean, these films could really be the type of films that teenagers or just any family could actually see, like in Halloween, because it's. I mean, I guess it could be like their tradition. So I think they just need to find a little bit of a better way to make these films better and to be incorporated together, and that way they could actually end on a really good way, and just like bring up the ratings, I guess. Um, but yeah, let's just hope they find a way to end on a better note. Thank you guys. This was the review for Paranormal Activities, the marked ones. I hope you guys liked it. Let me know if anything. Just make sure to tune into the next episode. Daisy Days. Thank you.